Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week we get more insight into ship customization, patch 3.5.1 creeps ever closer to release, plus we get an update on the Esperia Prowler and the black market economy. Don't forget we still have the Tumbril Ranger Sons of Centauri 3-pack to give away. Make sure you follow the link in the description below to enter. So before we get started, I'll just give you the latest on the 3.5.1 patch. It is still with the Evacotti group on the PTU, and they now have access to the web version of the ship customization system for the 300 series. There has been a lot of bug fixing, a lot of crash fixes, but currently no news on when it will release to the wider PTU or go live. Once it does, I shall obviously let you all know here on YouTube and on my Twitter and Discord, so be sure to follow me over there, the links are below. But hopefully 3.5.1 will keep us entertained while we wait for 3.6 patch, which is coming at the end of this month. As usual, as soon as it does drop, I will be sure to make some videos on the ship customization and check out the new 300 variants. So kicking off inside Star Citizen this week, the first aspect they spoke about was the black market economy, which is coming in 3.6. Now this, they say, is split into two distinct categories. You've got illicit goods and illegal goods. Illicit goods are things like drugs which are not allowed to be sold and are practically against the law to possess. Illegal goods are items that are stolen goods, not illegal to possess and likely able to be sold somewhere to the right person. Now stolen goods will have a specific kind of shopkeeper, like a fence basically, who will buy these goods for a little less money than what you could probably sell them legitimately for. Things like shady missions and destroying a ship and taking their goods will grant you these items. I would like to know how it will apply to legally finding things as salvage, so if you've come across a derelict ship, being able to claim it as your own, a bit like what we saw in the vertical slice for Squadron 42. But illicit goods like drugs and commodities that are not allowed to be in a particular jurisdiction may bring around some trouble for those carrying the goods from the law system, which is also in 3.6. So if you possess these goods and the AI find them on your ship, then you could get into trouble. They did say that they will increase the profit to counteract the risk as well. So I think at the moment in 3.5, the price of drugs is quite low if you want to sell them, but there's no real risk there. Hopefully 3.6, they will up the amount you can sell them for, but also you run the risk of being caught. Now the locations where goods are legal and illegal will change depending on where you are in the verse and the particular location's jurisdiction. We will see in 3.6 the law will translate to different things in different areas. So for example, Widow may be illegal at Lawville, but legal at Grim Hex. I do love this level of detail, as you will need to be aware of where you're going, what you're carrying. Even if you have one box of, say, Widow stored away that you'd forgotten about, if you go into the location where it's no longer legal, you could be found accountable for it. So it does kind of give you a reason to be up to date with your inventory. Anyway, moving on from the black market economy, we had a look at the Esperia Prowler. They have recently done a white box review of the Prowler. You can see here on the ship, the blue areas are the interactable areas, like the ramp at the back, and it also has many doors on the side to deploy the 20 Marines that it can carry on board. It also has a pilot and co-pilot. The ground floor is where the Marines sit, and the co-pilot is at the front, who is located directly below the pilot. Behind the pilot on the second floor is where the component room is, so where all the components, or majority of them, will be found for the ship. The pilot's vision looks to be quite good. Still no struts in yet, but they do want the pilot to have a great clear view. The Prowler's main engines transform into VTOL thrusters and the wings fold down. Once deployed, they are designing the wings to provide cover to the troops as they are deploying as well, which is a very nice touch. This is the first 2 to 3 weeks of development as they are beginning work on this ship. So for customization, we spoke to John Crew a little bit about the new customization system coming. This refers to the tailoring of our ships to make it our own in terms of styling, which means paint jobs, internal paint jobs, the different seats, controls, dashboards, the different items you can get inside. It also in the future means maybe painting ship weapons to match your ship as well. There are two types of ship customization. There is manufacturer and aftermarket. We are getting the manufacturer's customization, so like when you buy a brand new car, you can choose the trim, the paint, the seats and so forth. Aftermarket, they say, will allow you to change the colour and decorate your ships however you want, whereas for the 300 Origin, will only offer a range of customizations that they feel reflect their ship the best. Now for the 300, it says that you can match the seat to the dashboard and the yoke control system. You've got countertop items like a food maker, coffee maker, a clock, a picture frame, a sound system. These won't be really functional. They will become more functional when the player status system comes online. There's also a range of bedding, cosmetics only, but you also get external item packages which include weapons and components, and these packages are tailored to push the ship's performance in a certain direction, a bit like if you were to go to a car dealer and get the sports package or the race package. Now tier 0, which is what we're getting, is the bare bones of this system. It brings the website integration in as well and allows insurance claims to make more sense, so no longer will you lose everything that you have bought for your ship when you recall it. Hopefully not just package items, but everything if you go to Dumper's Depot and buy something, hopefully that will persist as well. This is laying the groundwork for expansion as well, and it will lead into the modules or the rooms for bigger ships like the Caterpillar, the Carrack, the Endeavour. So it's important that they get it right, and I'm very much looking forward to trying this out in 3.5.1. So this week's Star Citizen Live was with the ship team talking about how they create the ships from start to finish and answering questions that we have had. They did briefly go through the ship pipeline, which is how they go from concept to flight ready. I have done a separate video on this a little while ago, so I will link that below if you are interested. First question is, how do you prioritize what ships get worked on first? Now they say there's many aspects of this. Obviously one of the big ones is Squadron 42. Another one is what ship content they want to provide for each release, meaning if a ship can be done quicker and make it in time for a patch, then they may prioritize that one over something else. Also, they want gameplay features to match up with the ship like we saw with the Prospector coming in time for mining. Next question is, how do you balance functionality over coolness? Now they have slowly gone away from the cool factor being the driving force. Functionality is now king, but they do still want ships to look cool, so it's still striking a balance, but yeah, functionality is always priority now. Next question is, how hard is it to build spaceships without the gameplay mechanics being ready? And they say it is a big challenge, but they try to talk to people to get high level ideas of the feature so that when they build the ships, it minimizes the rework need. Someone asks what are the main reasons for reworking ships, and they say it's mostly down to the metrics. So being able to move around inside and fit in all the components, because the components are physically in the ships, and also, just sequence animations for getting in and out of the cockpits and in and out of the turrets and whatnot. They need to make sure that there's enough room for people to do so and still maneuver around. Next question is more determining the ship terminology. What's the difference between a rework and an update and so forth? Now the rework, they say, is changing it completely from the ground up. Nothing legacy remains, whereas improvements and updates are just certain specific areas of ships. Next question is, can you explain why turrets are placed where they are? They're not always optimal locations. Now they say that because a lot of the ships are old, they may not have been thought about in terms of metrics. Like the Constellation, for example, turrets are not great, but with them being part of the ship style, that it's difficult to redo them without changing the whole look of the ship. They do prefer to have turrets the right way up now rather than being upside down, so they will likely go back over some of the old turrets and bring them back on par with the Valkyrie, which is now, I suppose, the new standard for turrets. The Starfarer turrets, they say, will eventually fold up into the ship. Someone asked what the snubcraft roles are, so things like the P-52 and the 85X. Now, Parasite ships need a mothership to be able to travel around. They are not able to quantum travel as they don't have a quantum drive. Most of the Parasite ships, like the P-52, are there to provide protection. So if it's in case of the Corsair versus the Constellation, obviously the Corsair has more turrets. The Connie has a P-52, which offensively it helps to protect and deter the ship from other craft attacking it. Other snubcraft could be racers or runabouts, like the P-72 is a racer, the 85X is a runabout. Just small ships that allow you to transition from space to ground and so forth. So they have their role. Whether they're going to be as effective, I don't know, because obviously if you're trying to protect a ship while it's trying to jump out of the location, if you detach a P-52 Merlin to try and provide some support, the Constellation can jump away and leave the P-52 alone. So how much protection they can provide, I don't know. Going toe-to-toe in a P-52 to a Gladius, for example, is not a viable option. But if you've got a Constellation as well, hitting hard and dealing some damage, it'll really be determined by how maneuverable I think the Parasite ships are. They're not really there to take things down, they're more to just cause a distraction. But they obviously are sitting ducks if they're just standing still. The next question is, how open to allow more flexibility to ship roles are you? Basically, people doing whatever they want with ships. So maybe placing racing components on a Starfarer, for example. They want people to do what they want, but obviously if you want something for optimal ability, then buying that role-specific ship is the best option. Next question is to do with the ship pipeline. Is it optimized? Are there more tools coming to decrease the rate at which ships can come to flyable? Now, they say that the pipeline is in a good state. There are things that can always be better and faster, but there's nothing missing that would make the time to flyable majorly faster. Someone asked about the pilot's view. They often feel overlooked, especially with struts and whatnot in certain ships. Now, they say that doesn't happen anymore. Now the pipeline has a check for that specific area, so ensuring that the view is not restricted. This is one of the early questions that gets asked as the ship is getting designed, so ships should no longer be overlooked in terms of view. Next question is, are you taking into account internal modularity, so switching a weapon rack for a shelf, for instance? Now, they say it depends on the ship. Interior modules, for example, has the ability to be swapped out and is quite future-proofed. The Vanguard has now been created with a modular aspect as well, so it makes it easier for creating each module quicker, or if they wanted to produce future modules, not that there's going to be for the Vanguard, but it just makes it so much quicker. Rather than doing these small individual changes like a weapon rack for a shelf, they would rather swap out large chunks like the Vanguard's interior. Now, someone asked basically about cargo and if they've taken into account the metrics of being able to bring cargo boxes in and out of cargo holds. Now, they say that yes, they have been. The maximum ramp elevation has been set. It will not be exceeded, and this makes sense for bringing cargo in and out, because obviously the ramps used to be very steep, which didn't make sense. So now they've decreased that. It's now, I think it's about a 45 degree. It's more accurate. They did say that the biggest boxes in terms of cargo are around 32 or 64 SEU. They are the crates that sit on the hull C. But in terms of bringing them in and out of, say, the Starfarer, there will obviously be a set larger amount of SEU that you can bring in. So maybe not be able to take in a 64 SEU cargo unit into the Starfarer, but there will be a certain size range that makes sense for each ship. Now, someone asked about toilets, and we have beds in a lot of ships, but some of them don't have toilets. Obviously, with the player status system coming online sometime this year, what's going to happen? Now, they said this is another legacy ship issue, so we may see toilets being added to certain ships later down the line. But again, the design briefs for ships have tick boxes for what is needed on each ship, like beds, toilets, and all these sort of things. Some ships without toilets may get looked at afterwards, but beds are more important than toilets because beds are a way to log off and log in, whereas toilets, depending on the ship, are not always necessary. But like they say, if there is a ship that needs a toilet, they will then add one. Do you implement breachable areas on ships? This is a very good question. Now, to make it dynamic so that you can breach anywhere on a ship, there's a lot of tech hurdles needed for that before they can really confirm whether they can do it or not. They will have predetermined areas like doors and turrets that allow you to, you can destroy a turret and enter that way. Also, he did say, do notice that the turret holes where the turrets sit on are the same size as docking collars, so it sounds like when you blow away a turret, if you are planning to board a ship, you can dock to that turret area and then enter. Windows as well will provide a way of getting into ships. It would be very cool to be able to have dynamic breachable areas where you can just basically blow a hole anywhere on the external of a ship and get inside. Hopefully one day they figure a way to do that, but as it stands today, the tech isn't there. So we will see, maybe something later down the line. Final question, why are the ship specs on the website not up to date with the actual ships? And they say that currently it's a manual process, and this means there's a lot of room for error. What they want, which will be ideal, is an automated system which takes the current in-game stats and displays them. They try to update the page in big chunks from time to time instead of just constant individual updates. It would be nice if they could automate it, because those ship stats are very important. Personally, I think if they just don't have a stat for a certain area, like they said quantum drives, we don't have the stats for them yet, just leave them blank and give us the stats that they do know, which is automated through the system. Maybe that's my naivety, I don't know, but I would like to have that stat page up to date. Anyway, that was Star Citizen Live, guys. Do let me know your thoughts. Some good questions, a lot of stuff we already know, but it's interesting all the same. So also this week, there is a portfolio post highlighting Origin Jump Works. We get a ship customization Q&A, which I will cover in a more defined video. Plus, for all the subscribers, the latest jump point is now available. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.